lose you. After that, I'm headed to Providence, Vancouver, Eugene, Oregon, Oklahoma City, and Tulsa, Oklahoma, and new dates are being added all the time. Head to adamconover.net for all those tickets and to see my most current dates. And now, let's get to this week's interview. See, weed is legal, but that does not mean it is clean. And today, I'm talking to a journalist who has published an expose showing alarming levels of pesticides in cannabis products at dispensaries across California. Her work is a really important starting point for examining the broader challenges of legalization and how we can do it a lot better than we have been. So please welcome Los Angeles Times investigative reporter Paige St. John. Paige, thank you so much for being on the show.
My pleasure.
So look, weed's been legal for a little while in California. I remember growing up, we always thought that would be a great day when weed was legalized. We'll stop. Everyone will be kind to each other because we'll just all be high all day long, and it's safe and it makes you feel good, etc. And of course, a lot of people were going to prison who shouldn't have been for possession or selling of what is one of our more harmless intoxicants. At least that's what we believed at the time. What has the reality been of legalization in California? And maybe if you can speak to the rest of the country as well, because I know California led the way on this.
Right, because where California leads, the nation goes on this. And this is a national issue. It's not the weed that's the issue, right? It's the derivatives in the products that are being made, such as distillates that are used for vaping. And what we found, just in a nutshell, is that when with legalization came this runaway market, everybody who could was growing in large quantities and began just using pesticides, commercial chemicals out the wazoo for this intense cultivation, trying to squeeze 3, 4, 5 crops out of a single year. And when you take that cannabis, you shouldn't smoke it as is when it's been sprayed with stuff like that. But when you distill it down, make vaping products, you wind up concentrating the harmful pesticides.
Wow.
Carcinogens, endocrine disruptors, chemicals known to affect your intelligence, your fertility, cause birth deformities and neurologic damage that will haunt you then, with Parkinson's and things like that. And that stuff is showing up in pretty large quantities in the supply chain. Whether it's the legal market or the illegal market, to me it's one market, and that's what we found.
But it's showing up in both legal and illegal weed in California. This is your investigation. What did you find in terms of the amounts that were present?
Right. So we found levels of some chemicals at a point where you would feel it, whether it's burning in the throat, coughing, burning eyes, irritation in the lungs. We even some of the rolling papers were contaminated with, an ingredient in the original disinfectant Lysol.
Wow.
Just really screaming high levels in some of the rolling papers on some of the top shelf cannabis brands. But for the pesticides and stuff like that, the majority of the stuff we found is at a threshold where you're not going to notice the effects right away. And when they do appear, you may not know the cause. Things that a decade, later may show up. And we're already living with that. We live with pesticides in our food supply and around us, and we're already seeing the effects. Study, for instance, of people living in the Central Valley in California, the high rates of Parkinson's disease, that has been tied and associated with pesticide use.
Wow.
So, but then you add cannabis on top of that, and you have reason for concern.
Well, as you say, pesticides are a part of our food system as well. Is it worse in the cannabis industry than in the food system?
Well, here's why it's worse. Because when we published this, I got a lot of pushback from people who said, "Yeah, but my Cheerios has more of this or that." Well, no. The levels we were finding exceeded what are allowed in most food products. But 2, you're not smoking your Cheerios.
Well, you don't know anything about my breakfast routine.
I hope you're,